All right, looks like we are live. Today, I wanted to introduce Kent Corser. He is the ultimate. I should say ultimate because I have not seen any other Ricky Henderson card collectors. I'm sure there are plenty that you know, Kent.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
Kent is the ultimate Ricky Henderson card collector. I want to try and interview more player collectors. I did a McGriff collector. I've done a Red Sox team collector. I'm trying to do more player collectors like I have back here. But Kent, I have never actually spoken to Kent before. This is my first time speaking with him. I've seen a lot of his stuff over the years as far as his Ricky Anderson stuff. So I finally wanted to get Kent on, and thanks for coming.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. And first and foremost, yeah, I'm one of several Ricky Henderson collectors. I mean, I'm in a Facebook group that literally has 1,000 plus in it, and every single day we're seeing stuff from each other that we've never seen before. So it's an awesome hobby community. I just love to be a part of it. I love to share, and of course, I love to talk and show all things Ricky all the time. So if nothing else, I just continue to spread the Ricky Henderson love each and every day. So
Okay.
thanks for having me.
No, thanks for coming. I'm going to have another player collector next week. So I'm trying to, like I said, I haven't done this for a few months, so I want to try and get as many people as I can. I
Cool.
made a list for Kent to answer some questions, and I'm also going to share some photos that I grabbed from the Facebook Super Collectors page that I'll share with you guys. And Kent can tell us all about the man cave that he's inside right now, which I'm excited to learn more about. I don't really have a man cave. This is as much as my man cave is. There is. I have an aquarium right here, so it's kind of, if I turn my camera, it's not a good card show. If I turn it this way, you can see more of what I have.
It looks great. I like it.
Oh, and for any of those that are here, I'm going to add you to the ticker so that people can see where they can find you. So I put you as Kent Corser is the ultimate Ricky Henderson collector. You can find Kent on Twitter at Ricky939. Is that all right?
Yep, that and Instagram with the exact same name. So
Okay. So you can also find him on. Oh, yeah, I followed you this morning. Okay, or last night. So make sure you add Kent to in your Instagram and Twitter.
yeah,
All
I
right.
try to post at least one new Ricky Henderson item a day from my collection. Been doing that for, geez, I think over 2 years now. So I got about 10 years worth of material, I think. So we
Wow.
barely dipped in, but yeah, it's fun. It's a lot of fun for me. It's a lot of fun to interact with folks. Frankly, it keeps me organized. So it's a great way to take photographs of new things that come in. And it's just become the way I do things now. It's like a little process that I do. So, and then again, I love sharing them out. So it works out really well.
I know. Have I don't know. Have you or when I interviewed the Fred McGriff collector, he would share like every single day. He would share something with Fred McGriff,
Yep.
and I know I don't know his name, but the Frank Thomas Stan accounts, the Frank Thomas collector, he does the
Yep.
same.
Same thing. Same
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Oh,
There's almost one for everybody out there. It seems like, so,
yeah.
there's a Wade Boggs one. There is
John,
Jose Canseco.
I do want to interview John,
Yep.
Wade Boggs
Yep.
collector. I do want to interview John. I appreciate all the stuff he posts with Wade Boggs.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's fun.
All right. So, all right. So first off, I want to start. You're welcome to say no comments, but I just want to get the basics of where Kent is. Like, where did you grow up? Can you tell me where you grew up?
Yep. I was born and raised in Kansas City, and I still live here today.
Kansas City, Kansas, or Missouri?
On the Kansas side. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, we have a Kansas fan here, Royals 417. Did you ever
Nice.
interact with
Nice.
him?
I'm actually impressed that you asked the Kansas and Missouri side. That's awesome. Well done.
Well, I used to be good at geography. That's why I know.
There you go. Awesome. Yep.
um, what's funny is that uh, I, uh, I when I think about when I think of a player collector, I think, oh, he probably is from the area that guy is from. You know that he collects.
I
Like
get that a lot. Yeah.
I'm a Mark Burley collector. Where do you think I'm from?
Right.
I'm from Chicago. So, and I'm a Mark Burley collector, and I know it's not that cut and dry. But so you grew up. All right, and obviously everybody knows Henrik Anderson from back then, back in our times. Oh, I'm 46, by the way. Are you around the same age?
43. Yep.
Okay, 43. So we both grew up with Ricky. Um, so I guess I could start. Okay, so you from Kansas City, Kansas. How did you become a Ricky fan?
Great question. And just before I answer that, just so everyone knows, yes, I'm wearing an Oakland A's sweatshirt. Clearly, obviously Ricky. But at the end of the day, I'm a huge Kansas City Chiefs fan. Go Chiefs. I love the Kansas City Royals. So if you would see the rest of my man cave, it's basically dedicated to teams. So I've carved out a little niche, of course, for Ricky. But yeah, I'm a diehard Kansas City sports fan. So with that said, my love for Ricky actually began in 1987 when Christmas morning I got a box of cards, which at the time I didn't know what it was because I never collected sports cards before then. And my dad had got me a set of 1987 Topps. And so as somebody new to cards, I didn't know really what to do with them other than start to collate them by team and by color and even by player. And as I started to go through that process, Ricky Henderson had a lot of cards in 1987 Topps. And as I've said before to others, I literally kind of had an aha moment at the age of basically 9 that this guy must be good. And that's how it kind of started. It was 1987. Ricky at the time was a Yankee. I had already missed the early A's years and some of the best years of his career, frankly. So I came into Ricky later in the game from a player standpoint. But it was one of those things where I also played Little League baseball at the time. I was a left fielder. I led off for my team. I was pretty fast. And so when you put all those things together,
what was your team?
What team was I? Oh my gosh, it was Little League. So it's like your different sponsors every single year. I mean, State Farm Insurance 1 year.
Not a baseball team name, but a sponsor team name.
Yeah. So it was like State Farm, for example.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, our colors were red and gray, kind of State Farm colors, and I was the kid that wore the bright green Ricky Henderson batting gloves, which did not go with the jersey at all. But I didn't care because they were the
didn't matter. Yeah, who cares?
Right. Didn't matter. So yeah, that's honestly kind of where it all started and just kind of continued on from there. I mean, it was easy to be a George Brett fan around here, Bo Jackson at the time. Frank White's one of my favorite Royals players of all time. I loved watching that guy play.
How about Willie Wilson?
Willie Wilson was amazing. Absolutely. I mean, you got to have the speed in there. So
right.
So yeah, those teams were fun. And but also at the same time, looking back at it, I'm so glad I went down the Ricky Henderson path because it was easy to go to card shows. It was easy to go to card stores and not have any competition when I went there. No one wanted Ricky Henderson, right? He was a Yankee. Like, how dare you even ask for Yankees in Kansas City during those years? And so everyone was going after Brett and everyone else. And I'm over here like, hey, I'll take your scraps of Ricky Henderson. And here we are now. And it actually was a very, very good decision. So, So anyway,
were there a lot of Cardinals collectors there?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So was it mostly Cardinals and Royals?
For sure. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Especially when you think about those, obviously in 85, those two played in the World Series. So just a few years later in 87 is when I start, right? So yeah, it's always been a very
okay. Having said that, did you have any appreciation for Vince Coleman?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
all the speedsters right. I loved. I mean, Tim Raines, I think obviously if it wasn't for Ricky Henderson, we might be talking about Tim Raines right now. Because I mean, you talk about a guy that was just absolutely, he was under the shadow of Ricky Henderson his entire career and just happened to play at that time. Right. Yeah. It's like anyone who played with Michael Jordan. It's like, oh, dang, that's the wrong era to be in.
Right.
Exactly. So yeah, I loved all those guys. And frankly, it made Ricky better. You could definitely, have that competitive spirit back then, and he was going to get the stolen base titles and everything else. And those other guys drove him to that, in their own way. So absolutely. I'm a big fan of all those guys.
All right. So I'm sorry. So you started collecting 87?
87 was the first time I ever had a set of cards in my hand. And then, yeah, basically from there, once I kind of siphoned off what I liked about those cards, which ended up being Ricky Henderson, of course. Yeah. The next time I got into cards or had a chance to go to a card store, it was always asking about Ricky Hendersons. Do you have any Ricky Hendersons? And then the collection starts to grow, right, and starts to multiply. So, but it was always cards. It always was cards for years and years and years because I was a kid, right? I mean, it's like I didn't have the money to go out and buy my own stuff. I would trade anything that I would ever get that wasn't Ricky for Ricky stuff. So I never grew any other sort of major collection per se. I always had some Bo Jacksons on the side because, again, to me, he's super exciting and awesome.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So
did you have the was it the score? Was it score?
Yeah, the score photo with that was amazing. I mean, just an amazing image. And yeah, his Nike posters were in my room and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, that was super cool. My exposure to Ricky otherwise was very minimal because I was in the Midwest. He was playing in New York. I wasn't allowed to stay up late enough to watch those games. And so it wasn't really until he got traded back to the A's in '89. And those A's teams were amazing. I mean, '89, they just blew through everybody. And so
that lineup was amazing
all the time. Yeah. And that was my exposure to him at that time. It was all about TV then, because he's the whole playoff run. And that's when I saw this whole other side of Ricky, that, being able to see him on TV and that entertainer, I was hooked. I mean, the cards was one thing. Seeing him actually play on TV was a whole other thing. And then, of course, anytime he came to the K, Royal Stadium at the time, I try to be there. So then obviously seeing it in person was a whole other level of excitement. And yeah, it just kind of grew and grew and grew.
Well, we almost have like a 1 degree of Kevin Bacon. Whoops.
Oh boy. Oh.
Okay. Actually, I caught
Tell me if that happens to me, I'm going to run.
Because of the Spaceballs.
Right.
I actually wanted to point out that you got into '87 when Henderson was on the Yankees. I was actually, when I was little, I was a Don Mattingly collector.
Okay.
So I was collecting Don Mattingly. I was collecting all those Yankees cards when Ricky was there. And so when we were in '87, we were collecting Topps, Flair, Donruss, Score in '88s, all the food issues, all the oddballs, all that stuff that came out back then, the magnets or coins or whatever, Slurpee discs, whatever. Back right when he started in '87, '88, when we were little, starting to collect cards. What do you remember most as far as collecting or going to the card shop, or because I remember the card shop I went to. It's amazing how many card shops were around back then,
Yeah.
And I had one that was maybe a 10-minute walk away, and I would actually go through pages of binders. These guys had like full sets, and you would pick out the cards you want. And I would take out all the Mattinglys. He might have like 2 or 3 in the sleeve. I would take all 3 of them for like a dime a piece or whatever. But what do you remember right when you started collecting in '87? And obviously, I didn't like '87. All right, I guess I want to ask you this. So you were a player collector right away?
Without knowing it, yeah. I became a player collector right away. Absolutely.
Did you collect sets as well, though, back then?
It's the only set I've ever owned in my life.
Okay, so you never built sets in '87 or '88?
Nope.
Okay, interesting. Okay, because I did ask some friends of mine when we collected in '87, did you build the sets? And most of my friends said yes, even though I did still seek out Don Mattingly cards. We actually did build the '87 Topps. I think was always the cheapest. I think 35 cents or 40 cents when I was in '87. I think that's how much packs were. But yeah, so you went straight to player collecting. I do remember building the top set because I was buying so much of Topps, and I actually built the set out. But other than that, I don't remember building many sets. I was just basically a card collector, or sorry, Don Mattingly collector.
And it's funny you mentioned that because there was actually a conversation on Twitter about this the other day. Somebody was asking, is it weird that I never open up wax in packs? And a lot of people chimed in and said, no, that's not weird at all. And I chimed in right away too and said, I can't remember the last time I bought a box of cards. It's been decades, and I haven't opened up a pack of cards in a really long time either, other than like with my sons. But those are their packs. Because to me, I'm not going to waste my money on a chance of a Ricky Henderson. I'm just going to go get the Ricky Henderson. That's where I'm going to invest my money.
Buy the card.
And I had that principle from a very, very young age. So yeah, set building, going into a card store and saying, hey, I want 6 packs of this to try to pull a Ricky Henderson. I just never, my mindset was never there. It was always, well, someone's going to pull the Ricky Henderson and then I'll buy it from them or I'll trade for it. So when I go to card shows or even card stores, that was always the mentality. Do you have any Ricky Hendersons that have been pulled? And there was always something, it seemed like. And I learned right away, and it was easy back then to memorize the pictures of the cards.
Mhm.
So not even the card design, which even back then was pretty easy to do, but really the imagery. And I would get really good at memorizing the picture on the front of the card and also the back of the card. I didn't care about the card number or anything else, right? I didn't really look at that. I was all about the imagery. And so
I'm
when
sorry, these are all players, not just Ricky.
no, this is just Ricky, because those
Oh,
are the only things I would ask for and look at.
okay.
But I did that because I got to the point where they could hand me literally a stack of 700 cards, for example. It was never that many Rickies. Let's just say more like 50.
Mhm.
And I could go through them in milliseconds. And I remember my mom and dad being like, "You don't need any of those?" I'm like, "Nope, don't need a single one of them." And they were just amazed, like, how do you know? I'm like, "Because I have all those pictures." And so when I would go to bigger card shows where there's, hundreds of tables, for example, I could probably get through a show in what seemed like 10 minutes. Because at the end of the day, I'm asking one question. You either have Rickies for me to look at or don't. And if you do, I would just go through them super, super quick. And it wasn't until there were some dealers that actually came from the Chicago area, if I remember right, New York. No one was there from California, that I saw Rickies that I had never seen before, because they're coming now from the regions where, bigger cities and things like that. And I do remember vividly sitting in front of a dealer for what seemed like an hour. And I probably walked away with 150 Henderson cards that I'd
Right, so
never
do
seen.
you remember approximately what year was this?
This would have been in the early 90s, probably 90, 91-ish.
Okay, so these guys from New York, Chicago that came to the shows, are these regular issues like Flair, Tops, Upper Deck, or are these oddballs and stuff?
The
Regionals.
one that really blew me away was more of the oddball stuff.
Okay.
But even just the normal everyday issues, now I was seeing more of them, or even maybe like inserts. And there wasn't a lot of inserts back then, and there,
Sure.
of course, wasn't as many parallels and variations. But even things like Tiffany cards, for example, things like that. That if my store didn't have it, I didn't even know what that thing was until I saw the back of one. I'm like, oh yeah, it's a little shiny or whatever.
A lot more expensive.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And it actually fooled me, because I'm like, hey, I'm memorizing pictures, and it wasn't a picture. It was like the gloss or whatever. Like, it physically is different on the back. I'm like, oh, now I got to start remembering that sort of thing. So
Yeah.
that's why my hair's short in today's world, and it's receding and falling out, because now I can't memorize pictures, because Topps has literally used like one of 7 photos of Ricky for the last like 4 years. It's just ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. Yeah.
So yeah, it's not nearly as fun. But yeah, anyway, that's a long-winded way of saying, what do I look for when I went to card stores, and yeah, not a set builder or anything else.
All right. When you talked about the parallels, and it sounds like you're still. I was going to ask you, do you collect non-playing day Rickies?
100%.
So
I have never taken a break.
I know some people who are super player collectors, but once their playing year is finished, they don't collect anymore, or they might grab cards they see that they like here and there, but they don't seek them out. I'm a Mark Burley collector, so I've been collecting a lot of Mark Burleys, and I do collect all of his after playing years. I think he stopped in 2015 was his last playing year, and he does have 216s and ons. So I was going to ask you, so you are still collecting all the newer stuff?
100%. And it's kind of funny that you asked me that question, because 2003 was the last year that Ricky played, in Major League Baseball, at least. And 2004 was one of the biggest Ricky years ever in terms of production of cards. And like that 1 year alone dwarfed, it seemed like, his entire playing career combined. So maybe I should have stopped in 2003, but yeah, 2004.
How much more money would you have right now? Right.
It was just insane, absolutely insane. And even I think last year set one of the highest Ricky Henderson years ever in terms of production of cards. So it's like, it's absolutely ridiculous. It really is. But yeah, I am much more refined, I guess, in what I look for these days. I am completely content with the collection at the end of the day. I no longer, because it's not feasible. I never really had a desire to get one of every card, because I just knew it wasn't possible, especially when the 1-on-1s came out. I was like, well, the game's over on that. And so luckily I'm really smart about that side of it. And I really look for either a certain color of cards. I love any color match card that goes with any of his jerseys, but of course I go towards the green ones. anything that has his Ricky or the Ricky Henderson rookie part of it. So any reprints or anything like that. I just love the Ricky Henderson rookie card. So I go after those. Autographs, he seems to autograph anything and everything these days. So it's like every card that comes out seems to have an autograph version. And even that's kind of getting old, frankly. So
I do love his autograph.
Say what?
He has a good autograph. Nice
He has
autograph.
absolutely beautiful autograph. 100%. Yep. And you know, he came to Kansas City just last month, and it's one of the first, it's the only time I can remember him ever signing where I live. And to see him sign in person and the amount of attention and time that he gave was just amazing, because you actually see, I mean, he's taking like it's craftsmanship. It's not a scribble, you know, it's very slow actually. And he scales his autograph based off of the item that he's signing, which is fascinating, because if you see a really large Ricky Henderson autograph, it literally, not just size, he actually adds some different things to it. It's different than a smaller one, which is different than a baseball card one. And so you'd only know that if you got to see a lot of Ricky Henderson autographs before, but seeing it live was like a whole other just level. I just literally just sat there and watched him sign things, because I was just marveled at you know, that process. Right. So but you're right, his autograph is amazing.
Went to a card show in Lenexa today looking for bright oddball stuff. I quit opening packs long ago with the idea that I had a chance at a Brett's.
Hey, I was at that card show today.
So
I went to a card show today, and a card shop in the Kansas City, Kansas side, and went to 2 card shops on the Kansas City, Missouri side, and walked away with 0 Ricky Hendersons.
All right. So he actually has a question here that I want to ask, that I was going to ask you, and he actually asked me as well. How many unique Hendersons and Burleys do you guys have? So mine's, I don't know how many he has. I think TCDB, Trading Card Database, has him listed around, including all the ones and ones. I think it's going to pale in comparison to Henderson. I think he has around, I don't know, to be honest, around 2,000, but I think I have around 1,400 Burleys.
Yeah,
which I think is a lot, I think, but for Burley. But go ahead. What do you? I was going to ask you, how many different Hendersons do you own? Cards.
I think Ricky's at like 12,000-ish. He might have just passed 12,500 or something. And I'm like at 3,500, so I'm not even anywhere near, you know.
And I'm wondering how many of those cards are like unreachable, unattainable.
Oh, I mean, tons of them. It's all the 5/3/2/1s and 19 different colors and variations.
Yes.
So I have, as far as I know, I basically have every single base card of Ricky that's ever been produced. So if there's a base card out there, I got it. Especially during the playing years. But yeah, I mean, again, from 2004 on, it's just quadrupled and just getting out of control. And there was a couple dips in there, but now, you know, it's just going up again.
So how do you feel about the parallel rainbows?
I like the green ones,
right?
But that's about it. And I like when Topps makes the green out of 99 and not like out of 5 or 15 or 25 like some of the other colors. So I'm actually grateful that green is one of the more prevalent ones. But Ricky Henderson stuff's still kind of expensive, especially when it's in the color match like that. So doesn't matter if it's 99 or out of 20, it seems like with him. But yeah, that's all I go for. I don't really care about the other colors. But yeah, I'm amazed at when I see somebody who has 68 of the 70 and and they have the 1 of 1, right? You think that's the hardest one. For me, honestly, I have a rainbow that I'm trying to complete too. And for me, it's always been the /5 red that has been the hardest one. The 1 of 1s are almost easy, but then it's the 5 that is just a pain in the rear. And yeah, but then I have the 12, the 25, the 50, the whatever it was, 99. Those just seem to fall out of the air. But /5 red, and I've heard that from others that might as well be the 1 of 1, because it is the really, really hard unicorn to find in rainbows. And
I guess it depends on who you're collecting. Admitted, all right, I'm gonna say this by knocking on wood. I'm sure I don't have the number of competitors that you guys have with more popular guys who are in the Hall of Fame. Burley, I don't think is going to make the Hall of Fame. It would be good if he did, but and I'd be happy for him. But I don't think he's going to. When you're competing with a lot of collectors and in turn raising the car prices, which I don't have to compete, I don't have to deal with that with Mark Burley. And normally with like his, all right, his. So I'll show you this one. This is a Mark Burley this is the most expensive Mark Burley card that I've ever purchased.
Oh, wow. That is amazing.
Yeah. I think I paid almost, I don't remember. I was close to 300 on this.
That is beautiful.
So like if obviously Ricky didn't have this, but if Ricky had one of these, how much are you paying when you're competing with other guys for something like this?
If Henderson had one of those, that would probably go for 1,200 plus.
Yeah. So like I said, it really depends on who you collect. Does he have any Clearly Authentics?
He does. He actually, I have them all. Well, I have the ones that I want. Right. But yeah, in 2017 and 2018, 2017 was the 1982, 2018 was the 1980. So that's like one of the most sought after Henderson cards, modern cards out there, because it's his Clearly Authentic rookie card with his beautiful autograph. And I just got the 2022 Clearly Authentic a couple weeks ago, and it's actually one of the nicest ones ever too. So Topps does pretty good with those. I was actually expecting this year for Ricky to have a 1987 Topps one, which I thought was like the holy grail, right? Talk about going full circle. And yet they didn't give him a 1987 Topps design. It's the 1955 design. Okay. So it's still cool, but I was like, missed opportunity.
Right. How many? All right. I have seen. I haven't sought them out, but in some of your photos I'll have to share. But how many reprints sets has he appeared in for his 1980 Topps reprints?
Oh my God, there's hundreds. It seems like
different, like 100 different sets of that card.
Yeah, I mean it's an insert all the time, and then there's different colors for them all the time.
Well, I'm sorry. Well, okay. Well, excluding parallels, like as far as like how many sets that like an insert has appeared in, still hundreds.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Because it's honestly one of the biggest hobby cards ever.
Sure.
So yeah, it doesn't surprise me that it's been in things, but yeah, I mean, going even from the early 2000s on, there almost seemed to be like a rookie reprint of some kind in a product line of Topps almost every single year. Mm-hmm. And then yeah, you take out of that anything else over the years. And of course the parallels, and I do try to get the parallels in that one because it's the rookie card. But yeah, that's everybody wants those. So there's a lot of competition, no doubt about it. And I don't personally, I'm not one to drive up the Ricky Henderson game. I'm fine with letting the first 2 months, weeks go by, let the first ones go, set quote unquote the market.
No FOMO.
I know the market's going to come back down, and then I'm going to buy when it comes back down. And if I miss out on something, I miss out on something. That's the way it is. But I'm financially responsible with the collection. My family comes first. My boys, my wife come first. Cards is a whole separate thing. So you just have to be smart about it. But yeah, if you try to get a brand new Ricky Henderson, that's a hot one. That's let's just say number 25 or less in the first week or 2 weeks of a product coming out, you're paying a premium no matter what. Now you're guaranteed to get it because, of course, you're willing to pay that premium. But that's not me. I'll wait.
Okay. I typically wait out too. Is that because I collect Burley? I don't often have FOMO, fear of missing out.
Right.
I don't have. All right. I live in Korea, as you know. All of my stuff is shipped to my friend in Alabama, who then ships to me. He also scans the cards I get because he has a Epson V600 scanner. It does amazing jobs on scans, and then he sends me those scans. And I want to buy it here, but it costs more to buy it. It's like maybe $400 for the scanner here, and I don't know that I want to pay that much for the scanner, even though I love having beautiful scans. But the 1980 insert, the reprint Henderson rookies, do they have those with the jerseys and the bat relics as well?
They do.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. And they come in super fractors, or some that are autographed. And yeah, anything you can imagine, they've done it with that card. Gold bordered, black bordered, of course the green ones, relics built in, bats. Yep. You name it.
All right.
But honestly, the Clearly Authentic is probably one of the coolest ones that they did, because frankly, it's just the beautiful card and the awesome, clearly, acetate. But then,
Yeah.
of course, that amazing Rick Henderson autograph on it. It's chef's kiss. It's beautiful.
All right. I'm going to try and I don't share photos often on here. Hopefully this will work. All right. Can you see that?
Yeah.
All right. Oh, okay. Well, tell me. All right. I love the cabinet. So tell me what we see here.
Yeah. So I call this the heart of the man cave of steel, which is what I call my basement, by the way.
Man cave of steel. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
A nice little play on words, man cave, but come on, man cave of steel.
Okay.
So I call that the heart. That is the display case. There is some memorabilia in there as well. But that's my main love. That's where it all started, right? Is cards. And my vision as a kid was always hoping that I could go into a store and all I saw was Rickey Henderson's. And of course that wasn't feasible. So as an adult, I said, you know what, I'm going to create that. That's going to be my goal. And I want that to be the main focus. And that's why I call it the heart. But yeah, inside of there are multiple shelves. Top shelf is basically dedicated to all, and it's all glass, by the way, so you can see it from every single angle, which is really cool. So the light can shine through it, and the shelves are glass.
Like glass on the side.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
So yeah, it's amazing to see it from different views, but yeah, top shelf is cards. Middle shelf is predominantly cards, but also I have, I believe, 6 or 7 bobbleheads in there. You'll see an A's helmet, an A's hat, and then the bottom is where I keep my binders. And then to the right of the binders, you can't really see in that photo, is where I have all my Rickey Henderson rookies, all in one touches. So that's where they live. And then those 2 brown boxes on the ground are actually wood display boxes. So inside of there is a whole bunch of Rickey Henderson cards as well, and some of my art cards and other things.
All right. I have 2 questions.
Yeah.
I know these are customs because I've seen other player collectors get these made. Is the mat on the floor?
Yeah, I think I might have started that, which is kind of fun, because I've had a lot of people reach out to me and ask about these mats. So there was a seller on Etsy at the time, had a store there that this guy owned a print shop in Alabama, and it started off with he could make welcome mats, of course, for your front door. And so I remember reaching out and saying, hey, I have a couple images that if you're willing, if I sent you the images, could you make the mat based off that image? And he said, sure. And I was like, okay, cool. So one thing turned into another. I sent him a couple images, and this was the first mat that I actually had done. And then I kind of took that idea and I was like, well, can we do sports cards? And so I didn't know how that would all play out with licensing and whatever else. But at the end of the day, he goes, it's your image. You're asking me to print your image. So sure. So, basically scan a Rickey Henderson rookie card. And what you don't see in this particular photo, but I'm looking at it right now, is I have 2 mats side by side, one with the rookie card front, and then the next mat next to it is, of course, the back. Nice. And yeah, they're just fun. And
how many mats do you have total?
3 mats.
So this one that I'm looking at in the front and back of the rookie card.
Yep.
Okay. Yep.
But yeah, I've started to see there's other ones now. There's a Ryan Sandberg collector that's got an amazing one. Richard, a big weight box collector, has some ginormous ones. And so he reached out to me. He's like, dude, how do we get this done? So yeah, he took his direction too. So it's just a blast to see it.
Now the skateboard, I'm wondering about the skateboard thing.
Yeah, the skateboard is
I like that.
Everyone talks about the skateboard.
Well, of course, the rookie card, but I love how I'm assuming they said, okay, send whatever image you have and we'll print it on there. I love that you chose that section of the card. That's perfect.
Well, so that's different, actually. That is
hand. This is an artist who just chose and made it?
Yep. So
that's perfect for you.
There's an artist named Aaron Hill. And Aaron, he can of course paint on anything, but one of his mediums is on skate decks. And on Instagram, he posted I believe it was Bo Jackson skate deck as part of his 1986 Topps card. And I just immediately was like, whoa, I've never seen that before. Like, that's incredible. And the detail is just phenomenal. So I remember reaching out to him saying, have you ever done a Rickey Henderson? and he was actually in the process of doing one. And so I was like, I have to have it. And so my brother actually ended up getting that for me for Christmas that year. But yeah, if it's the detail, if you literally took a Rickey Henderson rookie card and you sliced it exactly where it is on that skate deck, it is to the T, even with the autograph. Like, I don't know how he does it. I'm looking at it right now. I mean, the autograph is like flawless.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's super, super cool piece. And it actually comes off the wall. So there's like a little shadow effect. So it actually sits like, I don't know, 4 inches off the wall. So it has some depth to it. And I'm not a skateboarder. I've never been on, that's not me. But when I saw that and that uniqueness, and now it's like one of the most talked about pieces. So it's fun.
Matthew actually has a question for you. Did you get in on the Project 2020 cards?
Yeah. So I'm not sure if you have another photo, but right above the display case is a custom case that I have that has all the Project 2020 cards in it. So absolutely.
Okay. All right. Let's go to let's see if I can go to the next picture. Here we go. So what do we see here?
So this one is baseballs, of course. Wide variety of baseballs. There's a gamer in there. That middle right is from 2002 Red Sox. That very first ball is 1981 Gold Glove stitch ball.
No, I'm sorry. The Gold Glove upper left 19. What's that say?
1981 is what's descriptive.
In person order, or did you buy that online? Or
I bought that one.
Okay.
Yep. So in fact, none of these baseballs I personally got in person.
Okay. I love the art one on the bottom middle. That's nice.
That thing is incredible. Yeah. So that's another artist on Instagram, and he's on Twitter too. And so yeah, that is an image that I told him I wanted the image of Rickey sliding for his 939 stolen base. That's where Rickey 939 comes from.
That's painted?
That's painted. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So it's an antiqued baseball to mimic the dirt, because Rickey was always dirty, obviously, by sliding all over the place. So he wanted to get that feel to it. So he antiqued the ball to get that color to it, and then hand painted Rickey Henderson sliding on the entire front panel of that ball from one end to the other. And then if you keep turning the ball a little bit, it will say 939 on the other side.
Okay. I think I might have seen that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty sweet.
Is the whole ball painted brown? Is it all brown paint?
Yeah. Other than that middle panel, the rest of it is all antiqued with that brownish. Yep.
Okay. Now is that 2000 or 3000 hits ball?
3000 hits on the lower left. Yeah.
Is that a team issue ball?
No, it's just a Padres ball. It's like a Padres commemorative ball for that 3000 hit.
Okay.
And the upper middle is the 1993. It actually is inscribed 93 World Champs when he was with the Blue Jays. And then
how many teams did he play on?
Say what?
How many teams did he play for?
He played on 9.
9. Okay.
Yeah. And then the 1989 World Series is on the upper right. So yeah, there's just a lot of fun ones in there.
What's that two-tone ball in the middle?
The two-tone ball in the middle is an Athletics. I forget the name of them. Not
is that green or is it black?
It's green. So it's green with yellow stitching for the A's.
Nice. Okay. Sweet. Okay. All right. Next one. There they are.
Yeah. Look at that beautiful wallpaper, as I like to call it.
Now, how do you have this displayed? Are these the ones that are on the side of the?
Yep. Yeah. They're just all stacked in basically packs of like 20-ish. I have 50 Rickey Henderson rookies, all in really stinking good shape. Some of which I got, again, basically almost as a kid, and hardly had to pay anything for them. And so I knew as a kid too, by the way, to be really careful with cards. Even at a very young age, I started to put my cards in pages, penny sleeves, top loaders, and then obviously went to 1 screws and now to mags or whatever. So I've kind of progressed, of course, with that. But from a very young age, I took care of cards. And no one ever showed me. I just figured, when I went to a card show or a card store and I saw that they put them in those, I'm like, well, I guess I'll start putting them in those. And thank God I did. I mean, I still have my original binder. Like, I remember putting the stickers on it when I was 9 and 10 years old. Nice. And it's still in pristine condition and with some of those original pages. And I just love it because it's literally going back in time, and I can remember some of those things, which is even crazier. But yeah, nonetheless, that I remember taking out the rookies one time and had them all spread out. That's on my ping pong table actually. And yeah, I just started taking pictures at different angles. And so that's always a fun one to post.
Great angle for the photo.
Yes.
like a often popular question or hot take. How do you, or like when you, for your Ricky Henderson cards that are just basically 87 tops, 88 tops, how do you store your cards? Your main.
So I'm a binder guy first and foremost, by year. That got a little loose later because if in 2000, make it up, 2015, I got a 1999 card. Well, now I have to go back to that binder and displace another card and move it to the thing, and it gets out of control. But for many, many, many years, it's all, and if you look at it even today, it basically does go very much in numerical year, starting with 1980, basically. And then anything else that I want to protect further would go into a magnetic one touch that either goes into the display case or into those brown wooden boxes. So yeah, but I'd say 80% of it is in binders, because I like to get these things out and look at them all the time. So
things that are going one touches are typically maybe patch cards or just a card you really like, or
mainly it's autographs, to be honest.
I'm sorry, autos. Yeah.
Yep. I mean, I might get thrown off the hobby bus here, but like even in my binder, I mean, I have things out of 5, out of 10. I mean, lots of very, very expensive cards, because to me, it's my PC. I'm not here to sell it. I'm not here to profit off of it. This is what I love. So at the end of the day, I take really good care of them, but I do want to enjoy them and get them out. If I put everything into a mag, into a box, how much of a pain that would be to get out and look at each time and thumb through them one by one. With binders, man, I'm just going and going and going. Right. And I absolutely love that. So, I have a lot of serial number cards that are very low numbered in that binder.
All right. Okay. Just a bigger view.
Yeah. Somebody asked about the Project 2020. So right above the display case, you'll see that kind of horizontal frame.
Right here. Yeah.
And I actually had a custom.
Yeah. Okay. Right above here. Okay.
Yeah. I had a custom frame built to look like the 1980 rookie card. And then there's 10 of the Project 2020s on one row and the other 10 on the bottom row.
All right. That's the one that flush against the wall, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
Yes. So,
all right. So tell me, what is this big Ricky Henderson flag type thing here?
Yeah, that was an Oakland A Stadium giveaway, an SGA. I think back in, oh man, I should know the year, but I don't.
Mid or early 90s, mid 90s?
No, it was in the 2000s.
2000.
Probably 2008, 2009. It's probably around his Hall of Fame year. His induction year is 2009. So I think it was around that time frame. But yeah, it was just an eBay purchase because obviously I wasn't in Oakland to get it live. But I love it because it's big and it's definitely a statement on that wall. But that's one of the most iconic Ricky Henderson images ever. So and I'm all about, you can even tell by my username, 939 is like a part of my life. Like, it's kind of weird to say that, but everything about that stolen base just elevated my love for Ricky. And so literally it seems like I look at my watch, it's 939 all the time. 939 just appears in my life all over the place. So yeah, you'll see a lot of 939 related stuff as part of the collection.
All right, and a lot of these are either paint or actual. Are most of these like reprints or like actual paintings or?
Yeah, most. Yeah, a little bit of both. So I love the art side of collecting. I love that there's so much art that's been created out there, and it's different than cards, frankly. So and more often than not, they're unique. So a lot of my walls and the things on the walls are very much all about art, and very little really dedicated to cards because that's what the display case is for. So yeah, there's a lot of different pieces that I try to incorporate, frankly, around all the teams that he played for. Of course, primarily you're always just going to see A's, but there is Yankee stuff on that wall. And every team is represented on the wall somewhere, not one of the multiple walls. Obviously we haven't seen them all. Right. But yeah, it very much is one of those things where, if I get an item, it has a purpose that it has to go somewhere to fit. So a lot of this started with, the skateboard honestly ended up there because I had that kind of awkward space because I had other things around it and I knew I'd have to have something very, vertical, but not too wide horizontally. And sure enough, the skate deck happened in my life, and it just happens to fit perfectly. So it's like these things have a way of finding where they belong on the wall, more so me choosing where they go.
All right. So I actually have a question here. I don't know if you see it. That you probably never been asked before. Maybe most people don't care. Do you have anything about Steel 1066, which set the new world record?
There's some cards, but yeah, nothing on the.
Also, they actually do have cards for it.
Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised they did that. American cards?
Yep.
Okay.
Upper Deck did some.
Okay.
So he got like these golden dip shoes as part of that. And so there's a really cool card that has that on it. There's another one with the base, I believe. But I have nothing on the walls about that. No.
Okay. All right. Let's see what we got
That's
here.
a good question. I like that.
Yeah. I didn't think you would have seen that one before. Come on. What's going on with these photos here? Oh, here we go.
So speaking of art, so as much as I love art on the wall, there's this growing niche out there of card art. And as I've kind of talked about, the monotonous of Topps and these other manufacturers coming out with the same picture year after year after year, for somebody like me is boring because I'm all about the imagery. And I'm like, man, Ricky played for 25 years. And honestly, we're using the same image year after year. Like, come on.
Yeah.
So I've really worked hard and have embraced the card art world and working with different artists to create cards based off, frankly, what I want and what I like, and with the imagery that I like, and doing borders that have never been done before and things like that. So I call this in the display case the card art corner. I actually change out the cards on this about every month so I can view new ones and keep it fresh. You can actually see the skate deck through the glass of that side panel, which is kind of fun. So, but yeah, this is a card art corner that one in the lower right is actually made out of leather. It looks like Ricky Henderson's rookie.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So it's a leather card, which is just absolutely phenomenal that somebody has hand tooled and then painted, of course, to match the 1980 design. And it's just incredible. You never see one of those again.
Right.
At least from that artist. There's a downtown card above that. Ricky didn't get a downtown card. So I had there's an artist, Loyal Luke, who created a downtown card. And it's one of the coolest things ever.
I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you that is downtown card, and I'm kind of surprised. It's mostly newer current players they have downtown cards, right?
Yeah,
old players, and I was surprised. Yeah, so I was wondering if that was a custom or not.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, everything you're looking at, for the most part, at least on the cards on this screen, are all custom. That the green bordered one actually mimics.
Topps Big.
Say what?
Is that Topps Big make custom? Is that a Topps Big? What? I'm sorry. What kind of? What's that? I'm sorry.
Yeah. So that border is to mimic Ricky Henderson's famous Mizuno batting gloves, his bright green batting gloves. And of the 5 fingers on that batting glove, one of the fingers is actually white leather. So that's kind of the first section of the card. And then you can see, quote unquote, the fingers, the breakups to be all green. And then that bottom band, the band of the batting glove is black and white. So this amazing artist, Joel Hoffman, created this. And you can't see it with this angle, but it actually says Kent Corser collection on it. Super cool. And it's got this really cool refractor look to it. So yeah, again, stuff that you can just dream up, because at the end of the day, it's art. And you'll never see it again.
The one in the back is that an actual superfractor?
It's made to look like a superfractor from 1979 Topps, because Ricky's rookie card's 1980, but his first year was 1979, and there was no 1979 Topps card.
I was going to ask you, did he have a minor league card and that had that pose?
He had a minor league card, and his very first card ever was 1977, which is one of the hardest minor league cards actually out there for any player to get. But yeah, that 1979, it was one that actually the same artist who made the Mizuno batting glove border made that one, and he chose that image. But it's an early year Ricky, and it just pops. It's awesome.
I was gonna ask you, did that image appear on any cards?
Oh, I'm sure maybe it has.
I'm not sure. Because I don't think it's anything from early 80s.
It's definitely not from early 80s. Yeah. I think Topps maybe has used it since then, but nothing like back then. It would have been more modern something.
Okay. What's the thing next to it? It looks like the white thing with the Ricky thing on top. Rosen?
Oh, Matthew Lee Rosen is an amazing artist, Chicago based. And that's actually a series that he made to mimic tobacco cards.
Okay.
That's actually why there's a matchbook right in front of it, MLR, Matthew Lee Rosen. So behind it, is quote unquote a tar card that he invokes what looks like tar to have a piece of the 1980 rookie card from the comic strip on the back of it put onto that Topps 206 card. So yeah, it's just a really cool play on that year. Matthew Lee Rosen also makes gum cards too that actually look like gum. So super cool stuff.
Is that the back of the card we're looking at?
That is the back of the card. Yes, the front of the card. The front of it's actually like the Topps 206 that Topps came out with a couple years ago.
Oh, okay.
The modern T206 card.
All right. How about this card in the back with him holding up what's that one?
That one is has the Oakland rooted kind of imagery. The city of Oakland, has this tree as part of their.
So it's a city logo.
It's a city logo, exactly, with that famous 939 image in front of it. And rooted in Oakland is kind of the play on words on that one.
All right, I'm gonna just throw this out there, and then we'll continue on. When and where was Rookie born?
Chicago, Illinois.
Okay, do you know when?
Christmas Day. I was born the day after Christmas, so another thing we have in common.
1958. 8. Very good. Good job. Okay.
We're 20 years apart. I was born in 78.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Awesome. Let's see here. So, what is this? Is that a Ricky pen or pencil? The yellow thing?
Yeah, 1983 pencil. So those were sold in United States like school stores and schools all over the country. And it was actually a big set. So to have that Ricky, and there's actually 2 versions of it, ironically. But yeah, that's never been sharpened. It's an original pen or pencil.
Do you have both?
I do not have the other one.
Are you seeking it out?
I mean, I would take it. I would take it. Sure. It's actually, I believe it's the same image. The only thing that's different is like the
color change, color swap.
No, even that's the same.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just a fun, unique piece. The Sharpie above that is a Sharpie that I had Ricky sign a ticket of mine back in 2003 outside of Wrigley after the Dodgers Cubs game. Oh, so wow. I kept, of course I kept the pen. Why wouldn't I?
Right. If you can, why not? Right. Not many people wouldn't take to do that. Right. So what about this batting glove here?
That is not a game used batting glove, but that is an early year Olo, I think was the brand. OLLO, I think. And of course his A's colors, and actually says Ricky Henderson on the little band. So of course I had to have that in the collection. And they actually made a variety of different colors, and I don't see actually too many that are the A's colored ones. So it's a fun one. But yeah, it just sits back there kind of idle with other little trinkets.
I forgot what that figurine is from. What's it called?
The which one?
The figurine, the little figurine guy.
Oh yeah, a little mini fig thing. Micro MLB, I think is what they were called.
I think Mattingly had one.
Yep, that made a ton of different players.
Early mid 90s, yeah. And a Ricky pin.
Yeah, Ricky Henderson Field. So I think that was only sold at the stadium. So the field in Oakland is actually Ricky Henderson Field, which is a big deal. It's actually one of the only fields, if not the only field, that's actually named after a player who's still like current and alive. No other field's named after a player like that. So it's a big honor for Ricky, of course. But yeah, so anything that has that logo, I actually love. And there's not a lot of things that have that logo. So that pin's a fun one. And that's also why I got the mat made, frankly.
All right. There's Matt again. So, So that Matt image is from the pin?
Yes. Well, that image is the same image that's on the pin is the same image as the mat. Yes.
And so the image is used at Ricky Henderson Field, I'm assuming?
Yep. Absolutely. So it's out on the wall.
Okay.
And so it's part of, obviously the playing field, basically on the wall. Right. And then behind home plate, it says Ricky Henderson Field, but does not have that logo.
Okay. Looks like you have a custom sign here, like a street sign.
So that street sign is something that my friend made for me that says "Man Cave of Steel." So,
Oh, nice.
yeah, it's got a Ricky Henderson rookie, look on the left side, and then he hand painted it and added the words "Man Cave of Steel," which is really fun.
Now I'm really interested in this base. What's this about?
The base. Oh yes, the base. A lot of people just imagine that Ricky Henderson signs bases because that's quote unquote what he's known for. And he absolutely does not sign bases. In fact, every single signing he just signed today in Chicago, and in bright, bold letters, it says "will not sign bases." So don't bring a base. If you bring a base and offer him $4,000, he probably won't sign it. Like, just don't do it. So let's talk about this base, because this base is autographed. So how in the heck did I get an autograph?
And how long ago? Yeah, how long ago was this?
So this is the story as I understand it. Steiner Sports, which is a big, name out there in the memorabilia world, had a contract with Ricky for a few years. And I want to say it was around 2017, 2018. And it might have been even a little bit newer, but definitely pre-COVID. So 17, 18, 19. And so there was a signing in Chicago that was planned for Ricky to go with Steiner and sign some baseballs, I believe some helmets, and probably some 8x10s, because that was kind of the normal thing that he would sign with Steiner. And so Ricky, as part of the engagement, goes there to sign this stuff. And as he's there, apparently on a table behind him are a whole bunch of bases lined up. And Ricky looked at his business partner basically at the time and said, what the heck are those? What am I supposed to do with them? That's not part of this. And the gentleman told Ricky, hey, you don't leave. Your flight's not out for a couple hours. We have nothing else to do while we're here. If you want to sign them, sign them. If you don't, then don't, because it's not part of the contract. You don't have to. And luckily he did decide to sign them. So what nobody really knows is the number. Bases are big and they're heavy and they're.
I can't imagine it being too high.
Yeah, I mean, and so what ultimately ended up happening is I'm assuming Steiner obviously sold these on their website for a period of time. I never saw them there. I never knew about these. It wasn't frankly until Milk Creek Sports out of Wisconsin, who's a big player on eBay. I mean, like thousands and thousands and thousands of sales and feedback. I think they basically bought the inventory because they had been selling these Ricky Henderson bases on eBay for months. I mean, I saw them for 6 months, 8 months, until they finally sold out. And, hovering between like 350, 375 bucks. I think towards the end, they saw that they were selling really well. So I think they got up to like maybe 400. But at the end of the day, I was like, dude, that's cheap as all get out. Like that's amazing because it's a custom base. So the base in and of itself was completely created by Steiner or built for Steiner. So on the front of it, it has the stolen base, basically imagery, all-time stolen base leader. But then each side of the base also has very custom branding, 1406, all-time stolen base leader, Ricky Henderson. So not only did he sign them, but he also inscribed them on the bottom as well. So having the inscription normally with Ricky is a whole extra cost. So yeah, it's unbelievable. I'm really, really grateful that I found them because now you cannot find them. And if you do, you're going to pay a heck of a lot more than what all of us did originally. But yeah, it's kind of one of the ultimate Ricky pieces now.
Are all those inscriptions, do you know if they're all different? Or are they all the same?
They're all the same, although amongst us friends in the Facebook group who have these, there are some slight differences,
okay.
But nothing drastic.
Now, what's that really big thing to the left of him sliding into a base head first?
That is a reprint of a really, really big Ricky Henderson painting that was done in fine detail. So I believe that was also the 939 stolen base with him sliding in. And my brother actually took that print and got it matted with the green as a gift. So yeah, that's a big statement on that wall, and that's a big piece. That's a big picture.
Yeah, I don't want you to lose your voice here. Can you tell me about the one in the bottom? The green is it looks like one of those the old stamps, I'm sorry, the tattoo, the little tattoos they sold, the tops or O-Pee-Chee tattoos on
Yeah.
the bottom, middle.
Yep. So that's by an artist named Jason Drumheller, maybe Drumhiller. Apologies to Jason if he hears this, but amazing artist. Oh my gosh, he's a graphic design artist, and I believe he's based out of Baltimore. And he had a series of a whole bunch of players that he kind of did in this format where he graphically made a Rickey Henderson, obviously the imagery, the face of whatever player he did. But then what you can't see in this photo is there's a lot of detail then embedded behind it. So there's like different layers to this. And in each quadrant, if you kind of were to split that picture in 4, there's a quadrant. And it says 1406 for his total stolen bases. And then it says Man of Steel within there. So yeah, it's just a really, really cool layered print. That's 11 by 17, I believe. So all 3 of those kind of right there are 11 by 17 size.
Okay.
So this is the second level of the display case. So again, predominantly this is where the baubles and almost every card that you see here is basically autographed for the most part. And it's kind of funny because this photo now compared to what it looks like now is totally different because again, I switched this stuff out. So it's kind of fun going back and looking at this. So yeah, a lot of autograph cards here. Different manufacturers represented. There's a Leaf Lumber card that you can see there. Actually has like a barrel concaved of the bat, which is pretty cool. I think that's numbered out of 6. There are some, of course, Topps cards, some Leaf cards from early 2000, 2004. That's a 1-of-1 Archives card on the far right with him running that old stadium club. So that's a 2018 Topps Archives signature. One of my favorite cards is right above that 2013 Topps 5-star that I actually have, as on the display case of the bobblehead as a card holder. But 2013 5-star, I think, is one of the most beautiful products of all time. That's a great image of Rickey with a great autograph. So yeah, just a lot of different things there with bobbleheads still in original boxes, never taking them out. The bobblehead that you actually see out, there's 2 of them. There's actually 3 of them. I have a third one in another part of my room. But those were from the San Diego Surf Dogs, which was the independent team that he played for in 2005. So 2 years removed from Major League Baseball, he's still hanging out, winning Golden League baseball championships. So at the age of 46.
Okay. Well, in what year did he have the most stolen base? His highest stolen base year, and how many?
1982, 130.
Yes, very good. Good job. All right.
Doesn't that just sound ridiculous?
Yes, it does.
It's ridiculous.
And I didn't realize, don't get me wrong, his accomplishments weren't amazing, but how many years did he have? 3? I'll give away the answer. He stole 100 or more bases 3 times.
He did.
I would imagine, for some reason, I thought it would have been more. Maybe I was expecting too much of him. But it's just amazing how how nowadays, 40, 50 stolen bases is the most you'll have in a season?
Yeah, I mean, 25 seems to be glorified like you're an amazing baseball player today. And I'm just like, dude, Rickey had that like in the first month. Like,
right. Yeah.
I mean, it's and like in like the World Series, I always like when they say, hey, if somebody steals a stolen base, just one player in the entire World Series, everybody gets a free taco from Taco Bell. I'm like, one?
Right.
Dude, come on. If Rickey was playing, they'd be like, if someone steals 15 stolen bases, everyone gets a free taco.
Tell me about the cleats.
So speaking of 1982, you're looking at a 1982 game used Mizuno cleat that is inscribed "God bless Rickey Henderson" on that left side. So that is probably my prize, one of my prize possessions.
It has to be. I mean, as far as collecting a player and having a used, I'm not one to collect game used stuff, but to have a game used item that year, have him sign it, that's an amazing piece.
So and a couple on top of that, you can even see kind of that, again, that famous green batting glove behind it. I'm a big Mizuno guy. So Mizuno was one of his big endorsers as a player. And I fell in love again as a kid with the batting gloves. So from that moment on, I'm like, okay, I'm a Mizuno guy. I didn't even know what that meant. I just knew I had to have the batting gloves. And now as an adult, anything Mizuno, posters, branding, as I look around my room, it's very Mizuno heavy. And so the fact that this is an early year Mizuno cleat, and even with the green, again, I'm a big person or fan of the green, with the green shoelaces, like, come on. I mean, that's fun. So yeah, super, super cool piece.
Now, I know that's there. I know a lot of manual collectors who do game use stuff. Do you know if like as far as like how much he used the certain item, whether it be a bat or a helmet or these cleats, for example? Did he like usually have one or two pairs for the whole season, or do you know how? Do you ever?
Oh no, he'd switch out shoes all the time.
Okay.
All the time. And come to find out, now years later, he would even have different shoes. Like when he would play in Toronto, he'd have turf shoes, and then he'd have regular shoes and whatever that means. And then probably have another type of cleat. So, and because, he's sponsored, of course, heck, he can get this stuff whenever he wants. And frankly, he was hard on his equipment. So with as much as that guy dove on the ground, I mean, he would go through belts like you wouldn't believe. He'd pop buttons on his jerseys all the damn time. So just imagine the shoes, right? So, and when you're a Yankee, you don't wear dirty stuff. It's always new, and you always look pristine and very clean. So he was used to having to do that with the Yankees for sure. And of course, with the amazing colors of the Oakland A's jerseys, which a lot of times were white and predominant, dirt would show up right away. So I think there was a lot of stuff and a lot of turnover because you just can't get that stuff clean from game to game.
Right. Yeah, that's an amazing piece. When did you get this cleat?
Fairly recently. I want to say it was in 2020.
It looks really clean.
Yes. Oh. Yeah, it was in a private collection for years. And I bought it at an auction. And so, yeah, I got lucky because I didn't think I'd have a chance and to get it. And somehow it happened. So
was it a sports auction or lots of different things auction?
Oh yeah. It's one of those auctions that probably had, 150 different lots on it of all random stuff. And, okay. And yes, somebody had actually told me, hey, there's a cleat available at this link. And I didn't even know, I never bought anything at an auction before. So I'm like, okay, well, let's try this out. And thank goodness they reached out to me because now you see it. So it was fate. So much of this stuff it just happens. Like I don't want to say it falls in your lap because there's a lot of work I put into it.
I would say it falls into your lap. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I'm constantly looking all over the place, but I live in Kansas City, right? So even I'm at a disadvantage. I don't live in New York. I don't live in Oakland or in California where like the regional stuff is always there. It's always been prevalent for the most part. And frankly, density, there's a lot more people, a lot more collectors, a lot more stuff that you get to know about. I've always felt I'm kind of at a disadvantage because I'm like, hey, I can only see what I hear about or what somebody tells me about. Mm-hmm. There's so many regional things that I've tried to look for over the years, way after the fact, right? Because I never knew they existed. And now finding them now is really, really, really hard. And yet they're some of my favorite pieces if you can find them. But right. I always felt like, oh man, as a kid in that area, you could probably get the California Highway Patrol cards from the patrol guy just coming to your school and handing you 50 of them. Well, it took me, 30 years to find it. And I was elated, right? And sure enough, it was from a guy that's like, yeah, I have like 4 of them. I'm like, of course you do. And he lived in California. Like, of course you did. So yeah, it's some things you really got to work for, but it's all worth it when it all comes together.
All right. I have several questions here I wanted to get through before we end. Do you have a favorite piece of it in your entire collection? Is it the cleat?
So, this is like picking favorite kids.
Give me 5 that off the top of your head.
Oh, here's how I'll do it. So, I would say I have favorite cards from each generation, right? So early years, technically it's his 1977 Chong minor league rookie card. That is my holy grail card. In fact, it's in this image. It's above that ornament to the right. That black and white card.
Okay.
Is one of the most sought after minor league cards in the world. I mean, because in 1977, there was minor league cards like that started this whole thing. And so that's from, it's called the Chong Modesto A's, minor league. And so that's kind of the holy grail from there. And then of course the 1980. So right there is two of my favorite cards from the early years. And I love 1993 Finest because that's what started, what's a refractor? Well, you have to go back to then. And so that from that generation is amazing. And of course, then it was until 2002 that Ricky ever had his first certified autograph on a card. So think about that. He started in 1979, retired in 2003, and it wasn't until 2002 where you could get a sticker autograph from a redemption that was numbered out of 100. And so that card to me holds because that was like a change in, like, here we go. Here's the whole autograph boom and relics and things like that. But then memorabilia, by far and away, the cleat and the base, that's like easy. Art, the skate deck is absolutely incredible, but there's a lot of really, really cool, unique art pieces. The one thing that I'll save for the end is I have a shadow box, and it's right there. All right. That shadow box. That is my wedding gift for my wife.
Wow.
So inside of there is an autograph bat, an autograph ball, an 8x10, and 2 cards. And I'll never forget, she came to me and she's like, hey, I need this stuff. I'm like, no way. Like, I'm not giving you these items. And of course, I didn't know what I was going for. And she's like, just trust me. I'm like, dude, there's no way I'm giving you like my autograph bat and you're just going to go off somewhere with it. Like, she didn't know anything about this stuff or even the value or anything like that. And sure enough, I let her do it. And yeah, she turned it into that amazing piece. So that obviously has all the sentimental value in the world. So those are some of my favorite pieces, but
okay.
Yeah.
What another question I often like to ask is, do you have a favorite oddball card of Ricky?
Yeah, God, there's so many. Off the top of my head, the 1981 Squirt. I love food issues. So 1981 Squirt is a beautiful green and yellow because that's the color of the Squirt branding. So when you couple that branding color with the Ricky Henderson from an early year Ricky Henderson photo, it is just one of the coolest cards ever. But yeah, I mean, there's other food issues that I like too. But that's probably the first one is off the top of my head. But yeah, there's a lot of wacky, oddball, just weird stuff.
Right. I'm sure you don't get this often. Who was your favorite player that wasn't Ricky Henderson?
Well, probably Frank White from the Royals side. Always appreciated George Brett, but he was never one of my favorite players. But Bo Jackson from a strictly athlete standpoint. And I always have said, if I didn't collect Ricky Henderson, I'd probably be a big Bo Jackson collector. Okay. I also love basketball, so I actually do have a pretty decent Jordan collection. But yeah, that's like an easy answer, right? I think everyone collected Jordan at one point or another. But Bo probably would be my love if it wasn't Ricky.
There he is.
So there he is holding a Mizuno batting glove that I sent to him in 2000. He signed that in New York. And then after he signed it, I asked for a photo. And so, yeah, there he is, probably in a weird hotel room signing a whole bunch of items. But yeah, it says to Kent, a good fan, Ricky Henderson on, again, that famous.
I wanted to ask you this before, but then when I saw this photo, I'm like, oh, I have to ask him this. I think you told me, but I'm not sure. How many times have you met Ricky?
I've only met Ricky 3 times now. Yeah. So it's almost once every 10 years, which is kind of really weird to think about. 2003, 2013, 2022. All
right. So I'm sorry. So you said you saw him at Wrigley one time?
Yep. So his last year playing in the majors was 2003. And his last time actually ever playing at Wrigley Field. And I lived in Chicago at the time. I lived in Chicago for 6 years. And I said, well, I got to go. And he actually didn't play. Well, he didn't play. And I was really nervous. Like, he's not going to get in. He's not going to get in. I'm like, I came here just to see this one guy, and he's literally not going to get into the game. And sure enough, he pinch hit in the 8th inning and got a single to right field. And I was just like, this is the way it's supposed to be. It's supposed to happen this way. Right. And so at the end of the game, and that blue Sharpie that you saw earlier, The only thing I had with me, of course, was the ticket stub. So it actually has Dusty Baker. Looking back at it, this is really weird. And so, he's on the front of the Cubs ticket, and Ricky, born and raised in Chicago, has a lot of friends still in Chicago. He did not go on the team bus. So I knew all the players were going one way, and I saw Ricky come out because at Wrigley, you have access. And he went right across the street, and right across the street at the time was a famous 7-Eleven. And he just stopped on the corner because someone was picking him up there. And so as soon as he stopped, of course, it didn't take too long for some people to congregate around him, but I was one of the first ones. And I actually went up to him and said, I don't want an autograph. I just want to shake your hand and thank you for the last 25 years, because I'm here because of you. I love this game because of you. And it was actually my brother who's like, dude, have him sign something. And so luckily somebody else had the blue Sharpie. I had the ticket. After he signed their item, he signed my ticket, and that person took off. And so he handed me the Sharpie. I'm like, okay, it's now mine.
Was that the first time you met him?
That's the first time I ever met him. And those are the only words I ever said to the guy in my entire life. But yeah, the next time was the most special time in 2013, because then that's at the Field of Dreams with my son. And I got to actually meet and talk to him for a period of time.
In Iowa.
In Iowa. Yep. So
what was going on? What kind of events was there that you were able to meet him?
He was playing in a celebrity softball game. It's called Team of Dreams. And so they obviously raise money for different events. And as part of Mystique Casino there in Dubuque, Iowa, they partnered with the Field of Dreams site to play a celebrity softball game there. So when I found out Ricky was going to be there, I was like, oh my God. I mean, that's just a quick drive, 6 hours. I'm like, we're going to do that. So I actually surprised my 7-year-old son at the time. He's 16 now. Picked him up from school, and I said, hey, buddy, we're going on a little field trip to go see baseball. And that's all I said. And so off we go. And I just remember him thinking like, Dad, where are you driving us? Like, this takes forever. Are we there yet? And meanwhile, I'm just like torn up inside, because I'm like, there's players that have to cancel these events all the time. I never mentioned Ricky to him at all. Again, it was just a baseball game. And so, yeah, I'll never forget the morning waking up and finding our way to the corn maze. I mean, because that's basically what it is. You're in these back roads of Iowa, and all of a sudden, there it is. It just shows up. You're like, oh my God, wow. It really is like the movie. And I had no idea how this event was going to go down. There's not a lot of seats. It's very limited space. And sure enough, when they started the announcements of the players, they actually come out of the corn, which is the coolest thing ever.
For sure.
And it wasn't until I actually laid my eyes on him and they said his name that I actually literally like stopped. Yeah. I literally, yeah. My hair definitely raised on my arms, and I look at my son, and even he knew at that time, at the age of 7, like, oh, this is a big deal for my dad. And so to have that moment was amazing. And actually in the display case, and you actually saw an image of it by the cleats, is a yellow softball. That yellow softball is what Ricky hit the first pitch into the left field corn. I always say it's his 82nd career leadoff home run, 81 in the major leagues, and now he's got one in softball. And a close friend of Ricky's went and retrieved that ball, unbeknownst to me. And honestly, I don't even know how he found it, because Ricky crushed this thing, and had Ricky sign it. And that gentleman presented it to my son. And so I have just an amazing photo of my 7-year-old son with that ball, just with the biggest smile on his face. And here I am smiling too at the same time. And so it was at that moment where that gentleman said, hey, after the game, Ricky's signing autographs, come meet us after the game. And I thought like, oh yeah, sure. Like, that's really going to work out. Right. And boy, did it ever. There was a tent out in the parking lot, and there's all these players. I mean, I walked past Ozzie, Frank Thomas, Wade Boggs, Reggie Jackson, Johnny Bench. I mean, they're all there, just one after another. And I got to go behind the counter basically where Ricky was signing stuff. And my son and I had just a really special moment where he took photos. He signed a hat for him. We obviously already had the softball. So yeah, that was by far and away the coolest thing ever. And to share it with him, with my son was, I mean, we still talk about it today. In fact, we actually literally talked about it today, which is awesome. He's 16.
So how did they, when you said, how was the process as far as getting the ball presented? I mean, how do they know you or whatever?
Yeah. So, there's I've through Facebook, frankly, is the connection that I have to a close friend of Ricky's who was his equipment manager and kind of business partner for many years. And it was that gentleman who actually let me know, hey, Ricky's going to be at this event in Iowa. I know you're in Kansas City. If you can make it, great. And I was like, oh, of course I'll be there. And so he knew I was going to be there, but we had never met before. I mean, this is all over social media at the time. And so there was only, I mean, looking back at it, there was probably quite a few, but in my little bubble of where I was at the field, there was only a couple people wearing Rickey Henderson jerseys. And there was probably fewer than that had a son, that age. And so this gentleman knew that I was bringing my son. So he probably just put 2 and 2 together, frankly. And thank goodness he did, because we still talk all the time. In fact, we text almost, it seems like, on a weekly basis, which is really, really cool.
Nice.
So yeah, it's just a special thing that, again, has happened to come together. That gentleman knew that I was a true fan just based off of talking to me, that I wasn't here just to, get an autograph and then go hawk it for $100 behind the scenes. Because a lot of people do that. And then they've burned a lot of bridges with those players over the years, because that's what they do, right? They use their kid. In this case, looking back at it, somebody from the outside is probably like, yeah, that guy used his kid to get the ball. Which of course wasn't true, but yeah, that's how all that came together. So again, I'm just blessed in a super cool experience
That's amazing. Yeah.
And then, yeah, the last time was just a couple weeks ago here in Kansas City, which is also kind of weird. Because then he signed a book that
was that guy with him that you talked to? Was that?
Nope. So
Okay.
that was, Ricky, has a agreement with this sports marketing company to travel 6 or 7 different places around the country. And Kansas City just happened to be the venue this time. It was Santa Clara, California before that. It's Ohio after me, I think, or after Kansas City. So when I found out he was coming here, I was like, what unique item do I want to get signed? And this time I had all 3 of my boys with me, which is really cool, because in 2013 I only had 1, and now I got 3. So I had 2, sorry. Now I have 3. But I had him sign a Rickey Henderson biography book that had just come out recently by Howard Bryant. And inside that book, I've been really fortunate that Howard reached out to me to get some stories, specifically the Field of Dreams story he absolutely loved, and included that in the book. But also was enamored by the collection. And he's like, I got to get a photo of your collection in this book. And at the time I thought, again, is this really going to come together? Like, seriously?
Yeah.
And sure enough, not only did I get an image, I mean, it's a half-page, full-color, beautiful image of the collection. And so I had Ricky sign that. And so to be able to present him that image and tell him about why that image is so important to me, obviously in his book, was a really, really cool experience. And boy, did I have his attention. I mean, he just stopped and looked down and kind of looked up again and looked down again. And his daughter was right next to him. So his daughter travels with him to these shows, and she kind of helps to manage some of the autograph stuff. And even she kind of just stopped what she was doing and looks over and is like, huh. Because instantly they just know, like, again, I'm just not a normal, just a Rickey Henderson guy here for an autograph. Like, I know about you. I followed you from, forever. It seems like 1987 on. So yeah, it's just really cool to have those moments and share them. Not only with my family, but even with Ricky. So.
Okay. Well, you have to, I want to introduce you to Matt. He, Royals417. He on Twitter, Royals417. He's also a Kansan, and he's a big, I want to say he's a big Royals. Yeah. Royals417. He's a big Royals fan. The school that he works with, he and I were talking, and his students are exchanging letters with my Korean students. So they actually write back and forth.
Cool.
So, yeah, I want to introduce you to Matt. And I don't know how many Kansas collectors you know, but I wanted to introduce you guys.
That's awesome. No, that's what's cool is I share this hobby with my kids now, and my kids are all Royals fans because, that's the era they grew up in. They think they go to the World Series every single year. And I'm like, no, they don't. But 14 and 15 were very transformational in their early years.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, they're big, huge, Alex Gordon, Mike Moustakis, and Eric Hosmer fans, and they will be forever, just like I am with Ricky. I know they will be. So yeah, big Royals fans around here.
All right, Ken. I'm sure we could keep talking. You have so much stuff that if I'm ever in Kansas, I'll get in contact with you so I can see
Come
your.
visit.
I don't know if that'll ever happen, but if I am, I'll contact you.
I'll say likewise. If I'm ever in Korea, I'm coming your way.
Yeah. I won't hold my breath, but yes. All right. It was a pleasure talking with you, Kent. I appreciate it, and hope everyone who has watched this or watch it in replay enjoyed this show. Kent, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right. You take care of yourself. Crap. I'm sorry. I just accidentally cut him off. Kent. Oh, you're still there. All right. Sorry about that. Sorry.
That's okay. And I'm back.
All right. Again, Kent, thank you very much. I will keep following you on Twitter and Instagram at Ricky939. And again, thank you. And I'll text you, but have a great Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year.
Thank you. I really had the opportunity to share about Ricky tonight in the collection and for this opportunity. So thank you.
Oh, here you go. You always have a place to stay in Pomona.
There you go. Nice. Absolutely. Heck yeah, and go get some Buzzards pizza. I got a really good pizza place there. So
I actually know about Buzzards. I never even
yes,
okay.
It's famous. I'm telling you, it's great.
All right, you says great interview. All right, okay, Ken. Thank you very much. You take care of yourself.
Yep. Take care. Thanks again.
All right, take care. Bye. All right, I guess I can still kick you. All right, take care. All right, okay, I just kicked him out. All right, everybody, thanks for watching. If you were watching. Next week, I actually have another interview. I will be interviewing, actually, I'll keep it as a surprise. I will be interviewing another player collector next Friday night, American time. So please keep an eye out for that. And thank you guys for joining me today. Thank you for watching, and I will talk to you guys later. All right. See you later. Thanks for joining.